Yes, children, good morning and welcome to my biology class. Today we shall be discussing about organism and population. Now, first of all, we need to go to our broader term, that is ecology. Now, what is ecology? When we talk about ecology, it is the study of living organisms with its environment, or we can say the interaction of the organisms with its environment. Now comes, what is environment? Environment is the organism and its surrounding. Organism where it lives and has some functional relationships is termed to be its environment. Now coming to the term ecology. The ecology first of all was not used. Saint Hilary in 1859 used the term ethology, meaning relationship with environment. Later on, the term ecology or ecology was first used by H. Ritter in 1868 and then by Ernest Haeckel. Oikos means dwelling place, the place where the organism lives and interacts with the habitat or its surroundings. Now comes your ecology has been divided into two types. Autoecology, that is ecological study of a species, and synecology, where study of a species and population or a community takes place. Now we have to study ecology because we need to study the concept of the organism and its environment. Our chapter is actually organism and its population. So basically this is the introductory part. Now we are going to start up the ecology. Now children, here is a basic question which comes to us is, why do we study ecology? We study ecology to know about how our world looks like, which components are there, etc. So when we begin with this, let us now start with a term called ecological niche. Niche or niche. Now what do we understand with this term? Now it refers to the functional role of the species. It relates with the study of the functional role of species in its habitat. What does a species play a role? Now more popularly it is known as to be microhabitat. It is known as to be microhabitat. Now the term habitat has come here. What is habitat? This is the dwelling place of an organism. The place where the organism lives is known as to be it. Now coming to the things we are going to study under these all is ecosystem. The term ecosystem we are going to use. There is a separate lesson for this. Ecosystem contains two components, biotic, abiotic. Now what is ecosystem? It is made of organisms and its surrounding. biotic component is the living component, the abiotic component is the non-living. Now here we are going to deal, in this chapter we are going to deal mostly about the organisms, population. They come under the biotic components and how they are affected by the abiotic components. Let me start with a question. Why a bird sings? Now this is a basic question which is asked. Now why a bird sings? Now possible answers can be to attract the male. Suppose we think that the bird is a female partner. Now second question is how it sings. Answer can be, it is physiological answer, by vocal cords. Now these two things are there where we are studying about the birds. Now why the birds are going to do so? Because they have to attract their male partner for reproduction or breeding. And second is how it sings, by the vocal cords. So the vocal cords of a bird are developed so that it is able to interact, and the interaction will help it to propagate its species. Now these things are there. Apart from that, now we are going to study about what are the which are the factors which are going to actually affect the organism. Now first of all we are going to come to the organism. Now what is organism? Organism is a kind of organized structure It is made of system which coordinate together to carry out the various functions. Now these are the things. The ecology where we study the organism is known as organismic study. Then after organism, many organisms will make a population. Many population, then comes your community. Many populations make the community, and then community, there comes biome. So many communities will form the biome. So I've added the things. Now let me start with, because we have to come to the organism. Now we talked about the ecology, we talked about synecology, autoecology, because it is a very broad thing, broad study. So we are going to concentrate now on more on our topics, which are organism and population, which we have come here. Organisms together, they make the living things, and living things, when we talk about, they contain a certain group of species. Species is a group of organisms with similar characters and which can interbreed. And the species, when we talk about the species, they are made up of a certain organism. So one organism, if we are talking about, so it is an organized structure made of systems like the digestive system, the reproductive system, which coordinate to carry out the life process. So that will be an individual. We can call it as an individual. So individual ecology is known as to be your organismic ecology. Then comes your population. Then population will give rise to a community, and community will rise to the biome. Suppose we are drawing a Venn diagram here. So biome is the largest of all. Then comes your, this is biome. Then this is your communities. Then your population, and last is your individual. So when we are talking about the biome are tundra, taiga. These are the biomes. So biomes are the largest structure which contains the organisms, communities, and it also has the biotic and the abiotic factors. So they all come under that. And also I should say is biome has got habitat inside it. So habitat will have all these things. So a particular habitat will have a particular community in there or an individual in there. So whenever we are going to discuss about this, we need to discuss, whenever we discuss biome, we have to discuss about two factors which make the biome or which make the habitat, and these factors are known as to be your. Now we will study the factors that make a habitat or biome. We will study that. A habitat will come to ecosystem, and many ecosystems are going to make the biomes. Children, don't confuse it. Biome is the largest entity and the individual is the lowest intensity when we talk about the organism level. So first of all, individual will come, then after that the population will come, and after the population the community will be coming. And when we are going towards the abiotic and the biotic systems, biome is the largest entity. After that it contains many ecosystems. The ecosystems, then habitat. So there are two things: ecosystem, which is made up of habitat, and then there is biome. And here it is individual or organism. Then it will form the population, and the population will form the community. These all can be under a biome also. So this is what I am wants to tell you. Okay. Now we are going to come to the next part here, children. And that is your what forms. It is the local conditions that form the habitat. Now what that can be local condition? Temperature, precipitation, these conditions, the type of wind quality, the biotic, abiotic factors, these all are going to actually form the habitat. And when we go to the larger ones about biomes, how a biome is going to be formed. Now there are the larger perspectives for this. It is also mostly, that is, it can be rainfall, hail, snow, etc. This is formed by precipitation, then temperature changes. Then there is a movement, revolution, Earth around the sun. So they all contribute towards the formation of a biome, and we are going to talk about the weather conditions. Actually, these are the climatic conditions mostly which are there, and they also help to form a biome. Now coming there, I will discuss with a graph here. Now this is a graph where we are taking, this is precipitation and there is temperature. So if we go to minus 10 degree, then 0 degree, 10, 20, 25, 30, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 and above 35. So children, you will find that here is given Arctic ecosystem. I will be taking one or two only here. Now if you go to the Arctic or the Antarctic type of climate, the rainfall is very low, less than 100 mm, starts with 50, then 100, then comes your 150, then 200, 250 mm of rainfall, minimum precipitation. And in the case of the deserts, you will find that the rainfall is very less. This is desert, hot deserts we can call them. Then if you go to the temperate or tropical rainforest, if you see the tropical rainforest, the rainfall is very good. This is your evergreen tropical rainforest. This is the Arctic system. Then there are the grasslands. So when we talk about the tropical rainforest, you will see that the precipitation or the rainfall is very much, and the temperature is also constant because it lies at the equator where the sunlight is always there and the rainfall is also there, which actually brings down the temperature to the constant. So that is why they are having it. So these are the factors which are affecting it. I hope you understand this. Now we are going to come to the next part. What effects, factors affecting organism? So there are two factors, that is biotic, abiotic. When we talk about the biotic factors, we are talking about the pathogens, its food organisms like plants, animals. Now we know that an organism can always be affected by the pathogens or the parasite. They can be the parasite, they can be bacteria, etc., which can cause the disease and death of the organism. Now coming to the second is the place where it is living is having the availability of the food, and and plants also provide shelter to most of the wild organisms. So we can say the shelter plants, the nesting facilities, for example the nesting plants are available or not, then only the plants can, then only the organism can grow. So then coming to the abiotic factors, they have been there. First is your temperature conditions, second is your water, soil, light. Now coming to the temperature, high temperature or too low temperature do not favor organisms. So there are two types of organisms: stenothermal organism cannot tolerate wide range temperature. The organisms which cannot tolerate wide range of the temperature conditions are known as to be stenothermal. Now temperature is very important for the metabolic activities. That is why we need to study it. And there are some which are eurythermal. Can tolerate wide range temperature. Now what are the eurythermal organisms? Like the warm-blooded organisms can tolerate a wide range of temperature. What are warm-blooded? They can regulate or control their temperature. Like humans are there which can control it, and in case of the conformers, they cannot tolerate a wide range and they fall into the category of stenothermal. Apart from that, we should also consider in mammals also there are certain organisms which cannot live in the cold, hotter conditions, like the polar bear is there, so it cannot live. So it can also comes in under the stenothermal. The marine fishes, they come under stenothermal. Salmon comes under eurythermal. Salmon does not come under eurythermal. Salmon is also going to be the stenothermal because the temperature is not going to be regulated. Now we are going to come to the water conditions. In case of water, water is very important, and the salinity in the water is going to affect the metabolism as well as the osmoregulation. So we will discuss that in a separate way. First is your water. So water is needed by plant for photosynthesis, osmoregulation, that is control of osmosis and etc., and temperature control, movement in organisms. So there are two types of organisms we already know, which live in the water and which live outside the water. Now we are going to consider here euryhaline. Water has solubles in it. They are mostly the salts. So the salts also are important for us. More salts are not going to be good. Less salts are not very going to be good. So there should be a constant optimal quantity. But even then, we cannot be the choosers. Now coming to euryhaline, then stenohaline. Haline here means the salts. What is stenohaline? Organism that can tolerate, that cannot tolerate wide salt condition. Now these are the marine fishes, and freshwater fishes. You can write the names also, like the Labiorhita, which comes under the freshwater, then Bombay duck, pomfret, which come under the marine fishes. Euryhaline we are going to come under, they can tolerate a wide range of salt conditions. Now salmon is a fish, sea herring, brackish water fishes, they can tolerate a wide range of these conditions. Why? Because they move from the sea to the freshwater places to lay their eggs. You would have heard this in many books. You would have read it and heard it also. And so we have come to end of this topic, that is your water. And then now I am going to talk about the light conditions. A minimum light is required by the plants and for photosynthesis. Now light, it is important for plants to produce food. So directly or indirectly, all the heterotrophs are dependent on the light for their food, because plants are dependent and plants only can produce. If plants are there, the other organisms could sustain. So there are two types of plants we know: long day on the basis of exposure, and short day plant. And day neutral plants are also there. So they require long duration of exposure to light, then they require short exposure to light. There are certain plants like the sunflower which needs to be exposed to for flowering also. So there is a period of exposure to light for photosynthesis called photoperiod. Now the photoperiod is very important. Now the places where the light availability is less, there the vegetation of the plants will not be as luxuriant as the places which have more light. So when we talk about this, in the case of the sea, the depth of the sea is too much, so light do not go there. Only red light or UV radiations can penetrate sea or ocean, we can say deep ocean level, and plant which can use it survive. So these are red and brown alga which are found at the depth. and light cannot penetrate deeper. So sometimes there is dark inside. So those organisms which are living at the base or the floor of the ocean where no light is able to go, so they will be adapted to those conditions. And so I have told you about how light is important. And light is also important for the animals. There are two types of animals which are found. Light conditions also have affected the way how the animals are going to come out for their feeding, nocturnal and diurnal. These are organisms, night active organism. There are certain organisms which come only at night, like bats. They are day active. They are living there, but they are going to they are going to rest at the night time, and in the daytime they are going to come. So here we are mostly having humans, etc. So these are the two types of organisms. Now last is your soil. Now soil provides the base for growing of plants, provides minerals, etc. So this is very important. So saline soil means pH more than 8.5 will harm plant growth, and acidic soil where pH is less than 4 also will harm growth. Then sandy soil, loamy soil. Loamy soil contains clay plus sand. So it can be 60 to 70% and it can be 30%. Sandy soil contains about 70% to 80% sand, plus only it can have sometimes 90 to 80% of the sand is there, only 10% clay is there, so that can be sandy. Sometimes 100% sand can be there. So this sandy soil, loamy soil or clayey soil, they are also responsible for the growth of the plants. Clay can be about more than 70% clay. So when we talk about in clay soil, cotton crop grows very well. They have low water percolation rate, they have high percolation rate. What is percolation rate we will discuss in a separate practical experimental lecture. Now I talked about all the factors. Now how the adaptation is there, responses are there, we will discuss that in a separate lecture. So thank you children. I am ending my topic here. Thank you.